Скажу коротке вступне слово. Це наша друга зустріч, продовження вчорашньої зустрічі. Вчора колеги з Парламенту Чорногорії провели прекрасну презентацію і зустріч щодо ролі парламенту в процесі європейської інтеграції. Сьогоднішня зустріч присвячена саме ролі Комітету з питань європейської інтеграції в переговорному процесі. Дякую всім учасникам, які знайшли час. Дякую нашим перекладачам та, звичайно, колегам з Парламенту Чорногорії, що зголосилися взяти участь і провести з нами ці прекрасні 2 дні. Щодо формату роботи, sorry, тут you have problems with interpretation, yeah? Try to turn on the panel on Zoom. No?
Yes, with me as an interpreter.
А зараз працює? Супер. Щодо формату нашої роботи, ми сьогодні більше часу залишимо на запитання, тому що в нас залишились запитання ще з вчорашньої зустрічі. Коротко про формат. Це буде зараз презентація від Марії Мілошевич та Марії Мараш, представників секретаріату Комітету з питань європейської інтеграції Парламенту Чорногорії. Після короткої презентації ми матимемо блок запитань та відповідей. Попередньо ми зібрали з учасників питання, але ви можете задавати протягом презентації питання в чаті або в кінці підняти руку та задати питання особисто. Задавати питання ви можете будь-якою мовою, українською, англійською, як вам зручно. Чекатимемо на ваше активне залучення до дискусії. І хочу передати слово Марії Мілошевич і Марії Мараш.
Hi from our side again. Hello, I hope that you are ready for today's presentation. Hopefully it will be useful for you. Today we will focus on the mandate of the European Integration Committee within negotiation process. At the beginning, I would just want to emphasize some historical remarks, how the structure of the committee was actually changed from time to time. It was established in 2003, and according to the rule of procedure in 2006, after Montenegro became independent, European Integration Committee transferred in International Relations and European Integration Committee, and 2 years after, MPs agreed the establishing of the National Council of European Integration, which was actually a political body, and finally, in 2012, according to the rule of procedure of Parliament of Montenegro, International Relations and European Integration Committee was divided into 2 bodies, Committee on International Relations and Diaspora, with the mandate of international parliamentary cooperation and ratification agreements, choosing the ambassadors, etc., and European Integration Committee with the main mandates of monitoring the negotiation process. Just one reminder, negotiation process in Montenegro with the European Union began in 2012, and so far we opened 33 chapters and provisionally closed three chapters. So the specificity of Montenegrin case in negotiation process with the European Union was that key chapters 24 and 23 and 24 were first open and will be the last closed. Is that the reason for this is actually lesson learned from Croatia joining. So the main fields such as rule of law, human rights, the issue of fighting against corruption and organized crime should be monitored through the whole negotiation process, and everything depends on the fulfilling the obligation from these two fields. Regarding the mandate of European Integration Committee,
Вибачте, прошу призначити мене
sorry,
перекладачем. Вибачте. Yes, sorry to interrupt.
Is it okay?
Прошу призначити мене
Is everything okay? Okay. Should I continue? Okay, perfect. So the mandate of European Integration Committee is settled by Article 42, Rules of Procedure. The mandate is based on monitoring the accession negotiation of Montenegro to the European Union. The committee monitors and assesses the course of negotiation and issues opinions and guidelines on behalf of the Parliament on prepared negotiation positions. It considers also information on negotiation process, and it considers opinions on the issue any issue arising in negotiation process, and it assesses the performance of the negotiation team. Apart from the rules of procedure or legal basis for the functioning of the committee is also a resolution of manner, quality, and dynamic of the process of integration of the Montenegro into the European Union. And this document actually focus more on communication, regulates communication and cooperation between government and the Parliament, with some regulation regarding the discussion on draft negotiation position. In practice, the functioning of the European Integration Committee actually seems as a main body on behalf of the Parliament, who actually oversee the accession process, and it has activities and monitors the activities of all relevant institutions within the negotiation structure, so governmental bodies involved in accession process. We organize thematic meetings and visits, roundtables, and consultative hearings on important topics of the accession process, because we actually monitor overall in the process of European integration. We also organize activities aiming at promoting European integration through cooperation with governments and NGOs. Another specificity of Montenegrin negotiation process with the EU actually is participation of civil society. The first candidate country who actually involved them in the working groups, negotiation working groups actually was Montenegro, and it was a positive experience, because the whole process should be as transparent as possible and inclusive. the committee shares experience and inform European partners on progress and challenges with the aim of speeding up the negotiation process. In practice, these meetings are dedicated to discussion on documents from EU level, from the level of European Parliament and European Commission, and their reporting on Montenegrin results. And finally, it considers documents of the institutions on the progress of Montenegro in the process of EU accession. We can divide activities of European Integration Committee into four groups. So the first group will be activities on negotiation process regarding discussion on draft positions, reports, and thematic session. So these let's say platform these are the different platform or format of the committee meetings. The second group will be activities on legal alignment. There is a specificity we mentioned, we talked about this yesterday, specificity in Montenegrin case that European Integration Committee is not involved in harmonization process, and it's a mandate of line committees in Parliament of Montenegro case. And the third group of activities are dedicated to European Union promotion, aiming to maintain the support of the citizens as high as possible. And of course, the very important issue is parliamentary diplomacy. So we have activities on this issue, especially in this phase when we finish the discussion on draft negotiation position. When we actually open all chapters, now we should convince all the member states in our results to get the green light and to continue not continue, but actually to begin the phase of closing chapters. So at the beginning of the negotiation process, actually the reason why international relations in the European Integration Committee was divided into two was actually that at the beginning we want to focus on discussion on draft position as much as possible. European Integration Committee, together with line committees, with chief negotiator and his team, carefully reviews draft negotiation position for individual chapters. The committee adopts an opinion by a majority of the total number of the committee members, and in case of getting the negative opinion, government shall respond to it within 8 days. No later than 5 working days later, the committee issues a final opinion. This is a situation that never happened in our case, but still we have 7 draft negotiation position amended. But since we have political consensus of all subjects, each amendment was actually agreed during the committee session. So we never have the problem, let's say problem or challenge to make a compromise on amending positions. These amendments was actually some of them or most of them was technical. Some of them was actually dedicated to some to changes regarding some quotes in, for example, traffic fields, etc. The specificity of these sessions dedicated to discussion on draft position was actually that they were closed. So we have special procedures in organizing. The draft positions were internal documents. Each member of the committee and each member of the secretariat of the committee signed statements that guarantee that everything that was discussed on the meeting won't be published. We also have a special procedure in a sense that we should have close space for the meetings with police in front of the door, and we actually basically this draft position, in our opinion, from this point, in our opinion, shouldn't be so internal, because it shouldn't have some internal information, but European Commission insists to these meetings to be closed. The main thematics on open sessions, and just to remind, one remark regarding closing chapters. Because we have closing meetings, because we have closing meetings of the committee, we are trying to be as transparent as possible. So before we discuss on draft position, before organizing the meeting where we have the closed meeting where we have draft position, we organized public debates. We invite all the citizens who are interested in the field. We invite members of negotiating team. We invite chief negotiators and his team, and all we discuss on the issue that can be discussed in a sense of internal details. And on the open sessions, we actually discussed documents issued by the government. So it was all about government reporting. The main, in the sense that it represents strategic documents, the main documents, National EU Accession Program, and reports on its implementation. So it's about it's a document that defines deadlines and dynamic and manner of adopting law and other regulations. So it's let's say a strategic plan of adopting or introducing the law that we need to adopt in order to align our legal framework to European standards. The second are the reports on overall activities within the process of Montenegro's EU integration. We discussed these documents on a quarterly and semi-annual level. These reports composed on details regarding political dialogue of Montenegrin and European officials. is composed on details of work of negotiating team, and it has a part dedicated to IPA funds, to pre-accession funds, and details regarding the stabilization and association parliamentary committee. So together, I mean, our common committee of Montenegrin members and members of the Montenegrin Parliament and European Parliament. Each year, we discuss on information on EU support programs for Montenegro, so it's pre-accession funds. We discussed on the implementation of all projects and the challenging in applying for new projects, and how what should be done in order to better use of EU funds. Strategy for informing the public about the process of Montenegro accession to the EU and its action plans. It's a document that we discuss on activities in promoting the European standards, so public debates, round tables, visits, and etc. And it's a common activities of governmental representatives, parliamentary, and civil society. In the first phase of negotiation process, we discussed on action plans for chapter 23 and 24, and now we discussed on just information, what has been done so far in order to fulfill the measures for implementation, the obligation regarding within these two chapters. Regarding the participants on these meetings, so we actually invite government officials and NGOs who are interested in committee work and want to contribute. So the officials from the government are actually most usually it's chief negotiator, now Ministry of European Affairs, and his team. So ministry line ministries depends on the committee agenda. Other open sessions are dedicated to European Union documents, so the documents on main European institutions. So it's annual reports on Montenegro and annual EP reports, European Parliament reports, or resolution on EC reports on Montenegro. So we checked assessed the main institutions who actually decide on our Montenegrin dynamic on the EU path, and we always invite EU delegation officials, so chief of European Union delegation in Montenegro, government officials, so ministry or some lower level participating from their sides, NGOs, and always line committees, at least chairpersons, but also it might be line committee members. Okay, the legal alignments or harmonization process, as I said yesterday, this is the most complex issue in the whole process, and it's much more challenging in the Montenegrin case because we have this specificity that European Integration Committee is not directly participating in the legislative process. Line committees considers legal alignments. I just want to ask you, Valeria, to get on slide 10, just to remind. Yeah, so these are eight committees participate in parliamentary oversight. It's 10. Yeah. So depending on the fields in which draft law is introducing, we have 8 committees participate in monitoring, and we spoke yesterday about this issue. There is no actually the final check of the monitoring, because line committees actually are dealing with the specificity of the draft law, and this should be enhanced in the sense that we would like to have a model that European Integration Committee, together with the line committees, monitors the legal alignment. Now we can go back. So line committees consider legal alignment, and these are the challenges. So no coordination between line committees and European Integration Committee, lack of capacity for independent assessment of legal alignment. We also talked about this yesterday. We're small parliaments. We cannot monitor the harmonization process by ourselves, together with other activities, but we can, for example, have one unit with 3 or 4 employees who will just do this job. So just will deal with legal alignment as a special unit. Drafting on law on Parliament is in process, so we hope that this issue will be settled in this manner, and it's our chance for procedure improvement overall. The other activities are dedicated to European Union promotion. So these are the events of specific negotiation chapters in order to consider a key issue for the meeting the criteria for the closure of the chapters. It's public debates. This was very useful in a phase of discussion on draft negotiation positions, since there were closing meetings, activities aimed at promoting European ideas and values to young people. These activities are maybe our favorite because it's visit to MPs visit high school and have debates with students on their actually benefits and their opportunities of membership, Montenegrin membership to the EU. A round of meetings with representatives of local self-governments. This platform or format of events was very useful because members of the parliament get very useful information from the spot. Actually, it's organized as spot missions, and they monitor how actually projects are implemented on the spot and how EU funds has been used. We always have NGO in open sessions if they are interested. They were very interested in these public debates, and we and MPs together with the NGO representatives trying to find the best way to actually to achieve EU standards and to make draft positions that is aligned with Montenegrin interest. And also regarding EU promotion, we are visible at social media. We are on Facebook and Twitter. It's very challenging. If you are on Facebook and Twitter, it's very challenging issue because you have to take care of all the comments, and you are not. I mean, you are free to communicate, but sometimes you get very negative comments, and you have no mechanism how to solve this, how to be, I mean, to freely comment on some issues. So it might be challenging if you want to have, let's say, a platform for discussion. If you have only a platform to inform about committee activities, then it's okay, but it's not the essence of being present on social media. And in the end, there is parliamentary diplomacy. We have meetings on bilateral level and multilateral level. On bilateral level, we have meetings with EU member states on governmental and parliamentary dimension. We are very proud that we signed 3 memorandum of cooperation, and we become very close partners with Italian Senate, Croatian Parliament, and Bulgarian. Sorry? Everything okay? May I continue? Okay. And Bulgarian Parliament. So this memorandum actually defined the platform of cooperation. We have two meetings per year, and actually the challenge of implementation of this memorandum was actually COVID. We didn't have a chance in 2 years, previous 2 years, to enhance the cooperation, but it's something that's general case in general challenge. And on the multilateral level, we have this conference on EU level, which is organized on regular basis. So conference on European Affairs Committees of the European Parliament, COSAC on the beginning and the end of the presidency. COSAP, it's Conference of Parliamentary Committees for European Integration, Southeast Stabilization and Association countries of Southeast Europe affairs. So it's COSAC, but on regional level. So we have the Bosnia and Herzegovina, Albania, North Macedonia, Serbia, Kosovo, and Turkey. Turkey and Kosovo are the participates as observers, but the members of COSAP are these four, together with Montenegro, five parliaments, five states. EU officials and study visits together. We organize this together with the director for external action of European Parliament sometimes, and sometimes we organize this as a follow-up of bilateral meetings with member states. And the final one is this Stabilization Association Committee to some extent. So it's a committee of Montenegrin MPs in European Parliament, and as I said yesterday, it's very good platform to hear the comments and assessments from the EU side regarding our efforts on our EU path. That's all for now. I'm ready for the questions. We can maybe go on slide 16. These are lessons learned for both for the Parliament and for European Integration Committee. And now I give the floor to my colleague Maria just to add something.
Hello.
Yes.
На комп'ютер.
Yes.
Hello. I hope you hear me. So sorry for the technical issues, but we resolved it. I just wanted to add one thing. As let's say a bit of a wrap up and a lesson learned that might be useful for your Parliament. So Maria talked about one segment of the work of the committee, which is related to the reports from the government and the Ministry for European Affairs. So like a lesson learned would be that in the beginning, so in this initial phase of the negotiations, the Committee for European Integration of the Parliament and the government structure that will lead the negotiations, let's say, sit together and decide what kind of cooperation they want to have, what kind of reports the committee and the Parliament wants to receive from the government. So we mentioned some quarterly and yearly and half-year reports on the overall process of the European integration. So these reports actually were agreed by the Parliament and the government. So it's not like something that's a norm or a standard, or we thought it was at the time that it was the good model for reporting. So now if you ask the MPs, they would have different ideas. So the process is going on. So maybe they need reports more often or less often. So I think it would be useful that you have some kind of, call it memorandum of understanding, once have kind of verbal agreement between the committee and the government structure about what kind of reports do they want to have, about what kind of joint meetings they want to organize. So like agree on the cooperation, how to monitor the process more effectively. So that would be very useful, because for us, the basis for the cooperation is this resolution on European integration that was adopted by the Parliament. It was adopted almost 10 years ago, and it was very difficult politically to change it. So some of the things that we have written there actually are referred to the old times. Now in the process, we modified it, we kind of changed the cooperation, we updated it, let's say, and adapted it to the current phase of negotiations. So our recommendation to you is to have something like that, whether it's on verbal manner or in written, some kind of memorandum or agreement or explanation of the procedure. So some committees in the EU member states, they even have special laws on European affairs or memorandums of understandings between the Parliament and the government on European affairs. So I think we should negotiate and be focused on negotiation, but we should also look at what's happening in the EU, in the phase when you are members of the EU, because everything that the European Integration Committee does now, in the membership phase, it will assume even more responsibilities. So it's always good to have in mind both of this, so not to be in a way aligned with what will wait for you when you finish the negotiations. So that's just a little remark on the cooperation with the government in general. And like Maria says, we are now open for all the questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Дякую, шановні учасники. Я дуже вибачаюсь, у нас на початку були проблеми з перекладом, тому у вас зараз буде можливість задати питання, якщо ви щось не зрозуміли на початку, щось хочете уточнити. Зараз є прекрасна можливість для цього. Ми розпочнемо з... Колеги, ви також можете піднімати руки і задавати питання особисто, можете писати їх в чат. Ми почнемо з тих питань, які ми зібрали до цього. Я буду задавати питання англійською мовою для більшої зручності, для більш швидкого процесу. So the first question will be more about administrative structure of the committee, because your committee do a lot of work, a lot of tasks, and how many staff do you have, and how did you enhance the capacity of your committee since you received the candidacy status?
Well, actually, there are three of us. We have one colleague on leave. So there's four of us actually. And I don't know how we managed to do everything, but we managed somehow. Depends. The parliamentary capacity in our parliament, and I'm sure that it's not the specificity only or of the Parliament of Montenegro should be. I mean, it's like we are always in process of enhancing the capacities. So for now, we are trying to do our best to achieve everything. For example, we are. Since we are not involved in legislative procedure and harmonization process, we are managing to do all the rest. But if MPs decide to involve European Integration Committee into the harmonization process, that will bring us a lot of new work. So definitely they will need to solve the problem of the administrative capacity in our office.
And you see this, you mentioned this unit with 3-4 people. You see this unit as a part of the committee or as a part of Parliament's administration?
Well, we see it as a part of as a special unit. So it's not important whether it's under the committee or stick. Did you mean on a unit for harmonization process?
Yeah, this unit.
Yeah. Okay. So it just an idea. So to be specialized only for the legal alignments of national law with the EU. So that will be its main and only job to do that. So together with the people, the employees who are working on this issue within the government, I mean, this is our opinion. We think that 3 to 4 people will be enough. And it doesn't matter, is it a part of the committee or it's a part of, for example, Secretary General office, just to be a specialized only for this issue. And it's maybe it's as a link with the line committees and European integration committee, because this cannot be, let's say, centralized. Now we have, let's say, a mechanism, a centralized mechanism. So everything regarding legal alignment begun at the level of line committees and finishing there. But others don't know what actually happened. So it should be decentralized. It should be decentralized and together work.
If we may add, so some in the EU member states parliaments, some parliaments have a parliamentary institute, for example, Czech Republic and some more. And in the parliamentary institute, they have people dealing with this. So also some, so for our administration, even the secretariat, so every committee has secretariat. So we have here a group of 4 people or 5 ideally, 5 or 6 ideally, dedicated only to the committee. Some parliaments in the EU member states have like centralized administration. So they have committee secretary, but then they have a big unit that prepares all the briefings and analysis and covers all the materials for the MPs. In our case, in the Parliament of Montenegro, so every committee has its own secretariat. So we are the ones who are preparing all the analysis, reports, briefings, speeches, if you may sometimes. So all these things are happening here. And sometimes MPs can ask for a specific analysis from the Parliamentary Institute, but everything regarding the committee is done by the Secretariat. So there are different models. I think in the Western Balkans in general, this is how it functions. Well, every committee has its own Secretariat. So this harmonization unit, so when we discuss with our superiors in the administration about this idea, we don't have like a defined position. It should be the secretariat or it should be somewhere in the administration. But we strongly believe there should be this kind of unit and then put it strategically somewhere in the administration, whether aligned to the Secretary General or aligned to the secretariat of the committee, which is also okay.
Thank you. We have the same system like this as you have. That's why your experience is so valuable for us. And our parliament is also thinking about different approaches. Thank you. You mentioned the memorandum with other parliaments, and could you tell more about ways of cooperation with other parliaments?
So this memorandum was signed in previous convocation before COVID. We have a general, as I said previously, we said we have a general obstacle to have more often meeting with these three parliaments with whom we have a memorandum signed. But regarding the interparliamentary cooperation in general, all these platforms, whether on bilateral level or multilateral level, are a good opportunity to communicate with others MPs. Unfortunately, I don't know for Rada, but here everything depends on interest of MPs. In our opinion, they do not use opportunity as they should, but you always on this conference and these meetings, you always have opportunity to cooperate with the members of the Secretariat. So you get the contact, and they are very, very free to help, free to support, and to agree something. I mean, to make some preconditions to agree to achieve some agreement on later on the level of committee chairpersons or something like that. But it depends on the interest of chairperson and committee members in general.
Can I just add for the memorandums of understanding? One of the challenges is when memorandums are signed, and then there is elections, and then you have the new composition of the committee, both in your parliament and in your partner parliament. So this is what happened with the Italians.
Yeah.
With Croatians, we maintained the cooperation. Maybe it was easier. We kind of, let's say, we continue the cooperation this year after the COVID phase. With Bulgarians, it's in the process. So they have a good chairman of the European Integration Committee. So he's always very interested to cooperate. But for example, with Italians, so this memorandum should be now refreshed because there's been new MPs both in our parliament and in their parliament. So this is one of the challenges. So the memorandums are very on the spot when they're signed, and then you should kind of lead the new MPs into the memorandum again and again, because it's been a new mechanism. So there's no long tradition. So a lot of space for
example,
improvisation.
Arranging the meeting with the ambassador of that state, it's a great opportunity because ambassadors also like the possibility to better cooperation. So chairperson should arrange a meeting with the ambassador or Italian ambassador or Bulgarian ambassador, and then as a link to try to let's say refresh cooperation within the new composition of the parliament.
But
in both states.
Ideally, MPs would all be friends on COSAC and establish some kind of links and networks, so that would allow for direct. So some MPs are maybe, let's say, talented in this field, some are not. So, but if you had very interested, active, and motivated MPs who go to COSACs regularly and who actually are interested to cooperate with MPs from member states, it's always a benefit for the committee entire committee. We had some study visits that actually arrived after the COSACs, after the meetings, bilateral meetings and agreements at the COSACs, so ad hoc, nothing overly planned. So that's always good. But we had, at that time, we had very active MPs in the committee.
But it's all about secretariat's networking. So it's very rare that you have MP who will approach to other MP to introduce himself and to arrange anything. So we are the ones who are always trying to communicate and to network and try to organize as a follow-up of the conference, a visit or meeting or something.
And on the level of the secretariat, what type of expertise you need is useful for you? For example, with Croatia, what you asked from them on the level of the secretariat, not for the MPs.
We asked them, for example, they are preparing materials for MPs and committee sessions. We asked them to share their experience in harmonization process, how they actually how they do the legal alignment in the sense of how this issue is structured in their case, how they cooperate, how they communicate with other committees, because these are the common challenges, no matter which parliament is in question, whether it's a Czech or Croatia or Italian Senate. It's something that it's parliamentary life. It's a life of parliamentary stuff. So we try to get from them tips. So the most practical, because on the level of the MPs, you always have political issues. For example, we have arranged study visits to European Parliament to inform MPs how European Parliament works, and they get there and they only speak about political issues. So they know how EP functions. They don't need any additional information. So this is their job, and we are here to try to get expertise.
So we basically ask for what they're doing in the membership phase and how they communicate to the ministers and the government in general, whether they give them some kind of instructions and how the ministers brief them what's happening in the EU and with EU policies. So like Maria said, we are trying to gain some kind of institutional memory that will then be that we can brief our MPs, these MPs or the new MPs, or so, because Secretariat is also, let's say, a source of this institutional memory of how it was and how it's done in the other. We always analyze a bit the other parliaments, both in the region. We can cooperate with our colleagues from parliaments, but also from the EU. So we always analyze interesting cases, what's going on in their parliaments, how their committees are organized. So I think with Croatians, yes, also we asked about this, about the membership phase, about what's happening now with the government, how they communicate, whether they have the special memorandum or law on cooperation or agreement. So all these issues, other than the politics.
And which experience was the most practical for you among EU states or among your region's parliaments?
Well, that always depends on the position of your parliament in the political system. Some ideas, some mechanisms are great, but are not useful in our case. For Montenegrin case, probably the French
We have to mention French Senate.
French Senate.
They have the European Integration Committee, the composition of the committees. They have all the chairmen of other line committees in the European Integration Committee, and that's how they establish all the coordination. So they are all briefed about EU policies. And also they have committee rapporteurs for every issue or draft law or any piece of legislation or topic. They have one member of the committee who will analyze, investigate, research with the Secretariat, and then be kind of main figure for this to brief other members of the committee. So we like French Senate.
Yeah, we are in love with French Senate, especially how they actually solve the problem of coordination. Then Hungarians have a lot of, have a very concrete structure of the and composition of the committees involved in European integration or affairs, yeah, and legal harmonization, but maybe they're good in paper, you know. I don't know about how everything functions in practice.
Czech Parliament.
Czech Parliament, with this Czech Parliament, as Maria said, is the one who have Parliamentary Institute as a let's say special unit involved in legal alignment. Danish Parliament, because Danish Parliament as a parliament in political system, it has a very strong position in parliamentary oversight.
And of course, we always talk to the Croatians because of the, let's say, closeness and similar practices, similar background. And also probably we should include Slovenia in this. We didn't really cooperate with them, but we would like to. So we always, every year, we have a list of parliaments which we would like to visit. So Slovenia is always somewhere on the list.
But you always have to, I mean, you have to bear in mind that the experience should be implemented properly in your case, because some ideas are great, for example, Swedish parliament, but we cannot, I mean, we are so far away from that. So we can introduce the idea, but this idea never will be adopted. So
I think you should have like a twofold approach. From one, you should maybe cooperate with some parliaments that are even too big, or so, because they have good practice, maybe good procedure, so you can learn from the procedure. But you should always cooperate also with the parliaments who are similar to you, so you know, from them you get what's feasible, and they will tell you. So you focus on the feasible things, but also have a look at what's happening even somewhere else, because maybe something you can implement in your context.
Thank you. It's very valuable. We are now emailing with the Czech Republic to establish some kind of cooperation with them, because they have this parliamentary institute and it's very interesting for us, but unfortunately they are too busy right now because of the Czech Republic presidency, but we are going to have also like public events with them. Thank you for the mentioning of French Senate. It's interesting. We will look more detail about their experience. Thank you. Also, you mentioned that you have a strategic plan of adapting legislation, something like that. And we are interested, do you have like legislation plan where you include all bills that you need to adopt in the area of European integration? Can you tell more about it?
I think here we we should make a difference between what's planned by the government and what the parliament then does with it. So the government, this is also the practice we got from Croatians and other countries. So some things we learned from others and then implemented specifically in our context. So we, from the beginning of the process, there is this national plan of European integration. Basically, in practice, it is the list of all legal amendments and new laws, and not only the laws, but also the regulations, the strategies, strategic documents, some kind of decisions, any kind of acts, starting from the law to the down level. And also the administrative capacities, the new people that should be hired. So it's done for the 3 years. So for example, 2018, 2020, and then every year it is updated. So it's a huge table. It has like 600-700 pages with tables. So divided per chapters. So for every chapter, there is the new laws that will be implemented, the amendments to the law. There is always the EU legislation linked to it. So why you do it, to align with what kind of regulation. There is a deadline when it should be done, and deadline when the new legislation should start to be implemented. And of course, the line ministry or institution that is in charge of this. So when we analyze, so the committee, so the parliament looks into it, but the parliament doesn't make their own plan. So this is also one of the practices that you could improve. Because when you are in EU membership phase, the government will give you this also when you are member states. The government will give you, or the Commission, European Commission will give you the plan. And then the parliament should make their own plan. So we are trying to introduce this in the parliament. Maybe we will succeed, but from all the practices we got, from all the experience, we think also that the parliament, when the government makes the plan, the parliament should make their own plan. So we have something called the action plan for improving the role of the parliament. So somewhere it's mentioned this, but not specifically. So there is not a legal plan specifically, and we think there should be. So the government, when they make the plan, for the 3 years, they then update it every year. Then they make the new ones for next 3 years and then so on and so on. So every year we discuss it at the sessions of the committee. So we discuss the new plan and we discuss the implementation in the previous year. So we have these yearly, we even had quarterly reports, but yearly reports are important. So when the plan is discussed, the MPs then say what they think it's feasible, what they think it's not. So this plan is basically what the government will adopt and what laws they will pass on to the parliament. But it doesn't mean that they will be adopted or that they will not be amended in the parliament. So we have big debate in the committee when we discuss the implementation of their plan. So the government comes and says, okay, we had a plan for the last year and we implemented 80% of the draft laws. And then the MPs have to say, okay, dear colleagues, you did propose 80%, but in the parliament we adopted 50%. So the plan is now really implemented. So we have these debates at the committee sessions. And actually, we as the staff are analyzing this. So when we get the report from the government, then we look into what's happening with those laws in the parliament, whether it's been adopted or whether it's been changed, or sometimes it's adopted under a different name. So different things can happen. So this is where the staff is important to follow up, and then the MPs can have the debate and discussion and initiatives and conclusions based on this. So this plan, I think everybody who negotiates will do some form of it. I don't know how it will be called, but they will have this, everybody had. And then it's basically your decision what to do with it in the parliament. We decided we are going to have committee sessions, and the government is going to explain what they did and announce what they will do. but you could have more close follow-up if you want to. This is why I mentioned in the first phase, the government and the parliament, the committee and the ministry or the negotiator should sit and decide. So you could have this, you could have it more closer, you could have your special parliament plan then based on this. But it's very useful to brief the president of the parliament and the president of the committees what is expected, what the government will propose and why, to align with the EU legislation. So that and then every committee and the president of the parliament knows what will be in the procedure and what is linked to the EU integration.
Thank you. It's very useful. We also had question, like, very general question about which chapters of agreement or which areas were the most challenging in your cases, in your case.
Can we start with the rule of law? It's politically challenging, and it will be challenging until the end. So this is now the reason why we cannot close more chapters. So let's say politically, because it's judiciary, it's independence, it's corruption, it's organized crime, it's police cooperation, it's human rights, migration. What else? Border controls, border cooperation. But I think judiciary for us is the most challenging. Yeah, judiciary, if you ask European Commission, it will be judiciary, organized crime and high-level corruption, plus media rights as well, freedom of the media and freedom of expression in general. And what else? Police cooperation is actually good.
I mean, it will be easy from our side, from expertise. It will be easy, but since everything depends on political will, it's never-ending story. But for example, environmental chapter is the most expensive one. So it's very challenging. Even though you have political will, you need a lot of money to get expertise in this field. Or
just let's add to the environment, to this chapter 27. There's also in this chapter 27 you have some protected areas like Natura 2000 and some special, let's say, this is also challenging because we are a touristic country. So we want to valorize and, let's say, use these potentials we have, environmental potentials. So then, and there's also EU standards that you should follow. So sometimes it's difficult to reconcile. And also 27 may be linked to energy as well. Because, for example, we have some thermal power plants, which are now big polluters. So now we are facing fines. Now the EU actually gave us like a penalty for exceeding the quota of emissions. So, which we promised we will not do because we took over some promises in negotiations, which we now broke. So it's also 27, but it's also energy. So sometimes it's not possible to follow the standards. So like one of the MPs said the other day, we will also probably, even if we become the members, we will probably have to calculate paying some fines and some penalties in the membership base because we will not be able to implement everything. What else did you want to mention?
Food safety. And this is the issue, for example, food safety.
12, chapter 12.
Yeah, chapter 12, and the issue of this new initiative, Open Balkans. So it's directly linked to this. So.
And there you have the laboratories for the food, for testing, for like product safety. It's also there. So it's. I think somebody said that they had to change like thousands of pieces of either legislation or implementing directives or rule books to introduce the standards from Chapter 12. So they will always tell you food safety, phytosanitary protection. It's also the protection of animals, and so standards in general of the food and everything, the product. So yeah, they said it was a huge job. So they don't want to go back because they had to change almost everything and to open new facilities. We also had with the state aid. State aid. So this is why we opened chapter competition only in 2020 after all. So that was the last chapter open, because we have the airline company, the national airline company, which is keep making losses. And as it's a national company, the government was boosting money to keep it alive, basically. So we broke some of the rules for the state aid. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes not intentionally, but this was also very challenging. So I think this is why we opened it. So it was the last chapter we opened, and who knows when we will close it. It's very difficult competition. And I think public procurement, everybody will say, is also can be challenging, because public procurement can also be linked to the independence and corruption and these things as well. So the corruption is also linked to public procurement. So there's this interlink, chapter 5 and chapter 23.
I think we had one hand raised.
Yeah, we have, please, Guy.
Okay, thank you very much. First of all, Maria, thank you for the great presentations that you did. So I see your efforts in explaining how your system works. I see that you did a great job with the bodies, with the units, and now you are making the greater job to explain how the process organized and how it works. I'm gonna challenge you a little bit, excuse me, with my question. So let's pretend the situation, let's model a situation. European Union has a variety of programs. I don't know, any area, defense, security, education, whatever. And let's pretend that the Montenegro wants to join some of the program for one program, for very specific program. So after that, the European Union, all the member states, their parliaments should approve the membership of the Montenegro as a third party in the program. And how your system, your legislative, your executive branch will react to this, and where's the focal point? Who will be the main communicator? The ministry that acts in the specific area, the Ministry for European Integration, or your committee? So who will be responsible and for what? So maybe it's a little bit complex question for you, but it's in my opinion, it's very practical. So it's one of our steps that we are trying to make right now, and probably your answer will be very useful. So I'm just trying to assess the effectiveness of your system that you created, because our systems, in my opinion, they are very similar. And if, for example, in Republic of Montenegro decided to, the leadership, the political leadership, decided to join some specific program, just one more time again, who will be responsible, who will be the focal point, who will be the coordination body? Ministry of Education, for example, or Ministry of Defense, or the Agency for the Air Safety. So that's my question. Sorry for
No, thank you. It's very interesting. I mean,
Okay,
So
thank you
I
very
think
much. Thank you.
we can illustrate this on the example of the EU programs. For example, Horizon or Fiscalis or Creative Europe. So I think that the first contact is always the Ministry of European Integration or the central, so it's the government, basically, not the parliament, the government. In the government, the coordination, the first contact point is the Ministry of European Integration Affairs, of whatever the structure. And then depending on the content of the program, it's passed on. So the coordinator, when you join the program, first of all, you have to prove that you have all the conditions, you prepare the analysis, it's adopted at the government. So the government adopts your official, let's say, application. We've seen it many times at the government sessions because they publish the materials. And then when you get in the program, when the Commission, European Commission approves your participation, then it's the ministry or institution that's dealing with this topic that will be the coordinator. So for example, Horizon is the Ministry of Science in our case. Fiscalis, it's, I think, state, customs
Custom office.
office, or so tax administration, sorry. For so Ministry of Education is coordinating some kind of European program. So it depends on the content. Ministry of Economy is for the SMEs. All the programs are involving SMEs, it's Ministry of Economy. So it's like this, the government. And then what the parliament does is then the government comes to the parliament sessions and then explain what they did. Or there will be some probably agreements or legislation or some decisions arriving from these programs that they will mention and explain to the parliament. So the parliament will not decide, yes, we want to join the program, but the parliament can debate, monitor, question, organize consultative hearings, ask about the results of the program. We can ask about what money did we get from the program, how much we invested. When we have the budget proposal, so the law on the budget every year, there's been money there for the co-financing of EU programs. And so the parliament can ask about this, but it depends on the MPs, probably, not probably, most probably, yeah. If they want to know, sometimes they're very interested, sometimes they're not, it depends. But the coordination and everything, applications, it's the ministries and the government.
Mm-hmm. But does the parliament monitors this issue of approval by other member states parliaments? No.
No. For example, for pre-accession funds program for IPA, Ministry of Finance actually is the focal point.
Mm-hmm.
So when we discuss on annual reports on how actually the funds were used, we are just getting informed about that. But we, as a parliament, has any influence on the approval, just to monitor the using of the funds. It's all about, it's all about governmental dimension, whether national or local one, because Ministry of Finance and other line ministries cooperate with municipalities, and they implement their projects based on EU programs. But Parliament, Parliament had the chance to, together with the Ministry of Finance, to make some priorities. For example, in the field of democracy, to get involved in the national program, and then to try to have opportunity to apply apply for some project,
But it's ministry
but it's ministry
and government. Let's say government.
Yeah, government.
But if the issue, for example, will arise the issue that one of the parliament from one of the member state will not approve or will not agree with the membership, with your, for example, membership in this program. Where's the role of the parliament?
So
Are
if
you
you ask,
involved in the communication with them just to get the answer for them? What happened exactly, and why didn't you approve our membership in this program?
so if it's in the program, no, but if it's in the EU, yes.
EU.
If you ask the government now, they will tell you for Montenegro, now the most important role is, the most important responsibility is with the parliament. First of all, to implement some reforms, to some judiciary appointments, to do some judiciary appointments, which should be done by the parliament. Plus, when they talk to us, the European Integration Committee, they say parliamentary diplomacy is now the key, because now you should go and convince them to close the chapters and to present some of the results. So there, the communication from government and the committee and parliament should be very good. So the government should be able to tell you, okay, so MPs would ask, okay, who is blocking us?
Yes.
That the government should tell you this. The chief negotiator, the negotiating team, because they know, they communicate to the European Commission, to the Council of the EU, the ministry, so they know. The parliament cannot know, so the government has to communicate this and then to tell them, okay, now we have problem with, for example, France, they're skeptics, Germany, in our case, Dutch. So go do your parliamentary diplomacy, go talk to the colleagues and let them put some pressure on their governments.
Okay, understandable.
So this would be key, but this should happen from the beginning. So we had phases like this, up and down. Sometimes we were told specifically, okay, this chapter cannot be opened because of these countries. They don't want to give the green light. But sometimes our negotiators wouldn't tell us anything. Yeah, it's all good. So it depends. So good communication and very directly. If they want, you can have closed sessions. Okay, secret documents, meetings, whatever. Just tell us. That's very important. Because the government will know that, not the parliament.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Unfortunately, our time is over.
Yeah,
Thank
we
you.
actually 50 minutes.
Yeah, thank you for this 2 days. It was very helpful for the participants to hear about your experience, because I guess our governmental system, parliaments, they're quite similar. And I hope that we will continue our cooperation and we will try to establish more closer contacts between you and our Committee for European Integration and between your parliament and the Верховна Рада Secretariat. And I would like to give you the floor to say a short final word and maybe some recommendation for Ukraine.
We should do that. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Okay. Well, we talked about lesson learned. We really want to emphasize that colleagues can call us or text us, or you have our contacts to ask whatever you need. We will try to help. Please involve European Integration Committee in harmonization process. This is our main recommendation. Try to communicate with the government as much as possible on the level of staff. No matter on formal or informal communication, it's very important to have as much as possible information, because government is the one who has information. We need to find a way how to find out what's happening in Brussels. That's the position of any parliament in political system, no matter on the issue. What else?
Maybe we didn't put this in the recommendation, but we are now discussing it in the parliament among the staff. So in the when you have we have mission of Montenegro to the EU, mission in Brussels. So you will have it. If you don't, I'm not. So you will have it anyway. So it would be maybe useful to have somebody from the parliament in the mission. For example, we have there members of different ministries, but we don't have anybody from the parliament. So when we need to communicate something officially with the European Parliament, it usually goes through the mission. But it would be very beneficial if you had people from your parliament, from Rada, in the mission in the Brussels, and then they can focus on parliamentary cooperation. They can focus on the information to the MPs. They can focus on their, so it would be very useful. We don't have this at the moment. The committee asked to have one person from the parliament in Brussels. So it's like a diplomatic mandate. But we think it's very useful. In which phase, it's up to you. But at some point, we think it will be useful for you and for everybody, for MPs mostly and the parliament.
And try to use this fellowship program we have in European Parliament. Try to get the contact from Directorate of External Action, because that program is really a great opportunity to see how actually everything goes on one spot, and then you got ideas what actually should be done here in your parliament in order to get prepared. But to be honest, it's a history of any integration in every country. So who acceded to the EU. After the EU membership, we will get prepared for some situations and some actually standards. So it's nothing. I mean, we are not ideal. The joining, it's on one hand, it's a political decision. So we will get in when they are ready to accept us politically, and I mean, I should be honest, but in this, let's say, the period of joining, we should use opportunities as much as possible.
Maybe for the end, as you saw, we are not ashamed of talking about our mistakes, because we think if we talk about our mistakes, we can also transfer good practices, which we have many, but we also can talk about our mistakes so that you have them in mind, so your system and the entire coordination can be much better than ours. So there's always room for improvement. So if you also, even if you want good experiences, and also if you want to hear about like maybe some weak spots, we will tell you. So we don't have problems. Sometimes they call us they tell us we are your perfectionists, you are sometimes too critical, but this is all, even all this criticism is, the main goal is to be better. So to have better systems. So if we stop being critical, we will never improve. So we think there's always room for improvement. And maybe lastly, to thank you all for this opportunity to talk to you. We hope we will continue the cooperation, and we hope you're all safe and that everything will go well.